Hi, welcome to Vector Bliss. Today we shall see how to create dynamic blocks. For creating a dynamic blocks, you have to select the object first or type just B. It is the normal block definition window where you provide the name. Let me just give the name as 1 or something, it doesn't matter. Just go for pick point to show the base point of the block. Okay, here, and select objects. We are selecting this, and you can leave these options for the time being. We will come back to that later. And open in block editor. This is important. You have to see you have to open it in block editor to give dynamic properties, or you have to specify the parameters and actions in the block editor. So it should be open in block editor, so this option should be checked. And another thing is that this block unit, this is also very important. I don't know how many of you are clear about block units, because unless this is set to your current working drawing units, when you insert this block, it will get scaled up or down based on your drawing units. That means if this is in inches and your current working drawing, that means this drawing, how to know that? Let me just cancel this and go back, because this seems to be a very important option. I want to talk about a little bit on this option. So let me cancel this. If you type UN for units in AutoCAD, you will get this box, drawing units. So it says insertion scale. So you can see the length type, it is mentioned as decimal here, which means you are most probably using metric system. There are two systems. I don't know how to talk about that two systems. I think imperial and metric systems. So if you are working with metric system, most probably you would have selected this decimal as your unit, and the precision maybe you would have set it at 2 units precision, two decimal places, and angle leave it as it is. So if this is the case, your insertion scale should be set to millimeter or any of these intended metric unit. That means if you are making your drawing in meters, say this rectangle what I have drawn here, the length of this rectangle is assumed to be 5 meters and this to be 3 meters or something. So the computer doesn't understand what is that meter you have drawn, it understands only drawing units. So 5 meter, when you are drawing a rectangle of 5 by 3, computer understands it to be 5 drawing unit by 3 drawing unit. It just understands drawing unit, nothing else. When it comes to plotting, that is when it understands inches and millimeters. So these are the basic 3 units the computer understands. One is drawing unit, that is the basic unit you use to draw something, and when plotting it is either inches or millimeters. That's how you are specifying the scale. So here, if you have assumed this to be 5 meters and this to be 3 meters, you only know that it is 3 meters and 5 meters you are referring by drawing a rectangle of units, drawing units 5 by 3. So here, this is where it comes little bit tricky, because this is you are setting this length to be decimal, and the insertion scale, this is where you have to specify what you have assumed as the drawing unit. That means if you are making your drawing in millimeters, you have to set it as millimeters. If you have assumed this to be meters, then it should be set as meters here. Or if it is in architectural unit, suppose you have set this to be architectural, then this should be set to either inches or feet. So this you have to be very careful about it when creating blocks. Otherwise, when you are inserting the block, it will either blow up to a huge scale or it will shrink down to a smaller scale. So you have to be careful about this option. So let us assume that we are working on metric system, and we will set the length unit to be decimal with 2 places of precision, and I will set it for millimeters. Now hit OK. Then I select this, going to the block definition box once again and giving a name for that. Pick point, I want the pick point to be here. Open in block editor, and now you can see the unit it has already taken as millimeters, because the insertion scale unit I have set it as millimeters. That's great. Now hit OK. Now you can see this block is opened in block editor. Now here you can see this toolbox here. This is called block authoring palettes. So here it has got this 4 different tabs here. The first tab is parameters, the second one is actions, third one is parameter sets, and fourth one is constraints. So this first one, parameters, is the tab we have all the, that is where we have all these parameters. So these are various types of parameters. This is a point parameter, but before getting into that, let me just tell you what a parameter means. Parameter is something which provides the property for the block to either, that is the user control. So when you create a dynamic block, if you remember in my previous video I have shown you that cyan color grips. So those grips are coming from the parameters. So you need something to work on to make changes to a dynamic block. So that is where you have these grips. These grips are coming from these parameters. So basically these parameters are nothing but certain property of this block itself. That means if I am picking a linear parameter, I am showing the first point here, second point here, and just putting this linear parameter here. What does it mean? It means this is a control where I can adjust this length of this dynamic block, this rectangle. That is what this parameter means. Now just by placing a parameter you are not done. You have to associate an action to it. So that is where the second tab comes. These are actions. So first tab, you are placing all these parameters. You have got different types of parameters. You can see this point parameter. Basically this point parameter is used to assign. Now another thing is that certain actions can be assigned to a special type of parameter only. For example, you can see if you go to this action, this move action is there, stretch action is there, all these actions. This can associate with certain parameters only. That means this move action cannot be assigned to a alignment action or a alignment parameter or a flip parameter. That means a move action is, if you think from the AutoCAD perspective, what does it do actually? A move command is moving object. So to move an object you require a base point and a destination point. So here you can see a parameter which can specify a point. That is the only parameter, those are the only parameters which can be associated with move action. So this point action obviously you can use for move action. Linear parameter you can use for move action because you can stretch either this point or this point. Now polar also you can use. So same way you have got different types of parameters here, and these are actions. So understand that parameters and action, both these together work in a dynamic block. You cannot leave a parameter as it is without any action associated with it. That is why you can see this yellow color exclamation mark here. So let us look at the first parameter, which is the point parameter. So this tutorial is very much about this point parameter only. So let me just take this point parameter. I am clicking on this and showing this point and dragging it and placing the label here. This is called the label. Now if you see, this cyan color grip is there, which means now if I close this block editor, save changes and go back here, I won't be able to see that cyan color grip here. That is happening because it doesn't have an action associated with it. So I'm going back to block editor again. Now you can see this yellow color, this exclamation mark is there. So that says there is no action associated with it. So I am going to action, and let us see the move action first. So I am going to click on this move action, and first it is asking for parameter. Select a parameter is what it is asking. So whenever you are working in AutoCAD, you have to keep looking at the command window. That is where AutoCAD will be communicating to you the most. Sometimes what happens is, like, if sometimes it shows on the screen like a tooltip also, just like that. You can see next to the cursor it is asking me to select a parameter. Now it is coming as a tooltip. Both ways it works, but you have to be careful. You have to see the command window always. That is where you have some instructions which are given by AutoCAD. So now it is asking me to select a parameter. I will select this parameter. Then it is asking select selection set for action is what it is asking. That means I have to select objects now. You can see the tooltip is asking for selecting object. I will select this object. Now press enter key, and that is when an action is associated with this point parameter. Now you can see this icon here. It is saying move. That means, and it is highlighted. It has highlighted the parameter as well as the objects it is associated with. So just by holding the mouse over an action, you can easily figure out which are the parameters associated with that action and what are the objects associated with it. If you don't, if suppose you want to delete this parameter, action, I have wrongly assigned it to a parameter. So if I want to delete this action, then what I have to do is I have to right click on this and set delete. That is how you will be deleting an action. Now close the block editor and go back to the drawing window by saving changes. Now if you select this, you can see this cyan color grip is there, by holding which I will be able to move the block. And did you notice this? The base point of the block is still here, which means I am not moving the block as is. I am not moving the block as it is, but I am just moving the elements inside the block. So that is very important. So when you are using these parameters, it is affecting the objects elements inside the block, but not the block as a whole. If you really want to move this base point, there is a way to do that. That is like you have to override the base point by using a base point parameter here. So if you click on this and put it here, now the block in the block definition, whatever base point you have shown, that has been overridden by this parameter. But we will come to that later. Let me delete this now. And so you understood how this move action has been associated with this point parameter. Now let us look at this point parameter being placed here. Now on this corner I have placed a point parameter which is position 2. Then I am going back to action and I use a stretch option. When I select this parameter, you can see when I am selecting this stretch action, it is asking me to select a parameter. I have selected this parameter. Then it is asking first corner of the stretch frame. So it is just like normal stretch in AutoCAD. So I will show this crossing window like this. Okay, so this much portion of that rectangle what is coming inside the window, I want to stretch it. That is what I am saying to the computer. Now clicking the next point here, you can see this window is displayed there. Then it is asking me to pick objects which are going to get affected by this stretch. So I will select this rectangle, press enter key. Now close the block editor, go back to the drawing window. Now you can see this is placed here. That is because we have previously moved this rectangle, so it is not happening with this. So what you have to do in this sort of scenario is go back to the block editor, and this move action has to move this parameter also along with this rectangle. So wherever you are moving this rectangle by using this move action, this parameter also should be moved, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So to do that, what I have to do is right click on this action and action selection set is there. You have to say modify selection set. Now when you say modify selection set, it is asking me to pick the objects again. Excuse me. Then I will select this parameter, the second parameter again, press enter key, close the block editor, save changes, go back there, and you can see now it is happening like this. Now reset the block to make it in the previous position or previous shape. Now if you click this grip and drag it, now you can see within the block only I can drag this rectangle, that corner, whatever I have selected using that window, that much portion of the rectangle is getting stretched, is what I am seeing here. Now if I am moving this, it is moving along with that. The stretch is working very much there. Whenever I am moving, that stretch is also following me, and I can stretch it whichever way I want. So this is how the point parameter works. So point parameter along with move and stretch. Scale also is there, so I am just leaving that up to you to experiment it. Keep working and keep practicing, and let us see in next video. So next video I will talk about this linear parameter and the actions which can be associated with that linear parameter. But the scale, I am just leaving it up to you to practice it. It is as simple as that. You have to just select this action, select the point parameter, then select the objects, and it will scale based on that. But there is something else which is very important with the scale action that I will talk in the next movie. So see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.